Okay, well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today on this webinar. It's great to see such a good mix of familiar names and new attendees joining us today. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Thea. I'm a relationship manager here at Centtrip. But before Centtrip, I was a chief stewardess for 10 years. I'm also joined today by Chris, who is our fantastic head of UX, and he will be leading the walkthrough of Centtrip Global today. Now, today our focus is going to be on Centtrip Global. But if anyone would like a deeper introduction to Centtrip, just let us know and we'd be very happy to arrange a follow-up. So with that said, today is really about the next evolution of Centtrip and what you can do with our new platform. So for those of you that don't know, Global is our next generation platform, redesigned from the ground up to deliver smarter functionality and a more intuitive way to manage your global payments and expenses. It includes all the same card, payment, expenses, and FX services you're already familiar with, but it's now faster, simpler, and more aligned with your workflows. So this means exclusive new tools that are not available in our existing UK platform, improved performance with a faster and more responsive experience, a modern new interface. So we've given it a glow up. We've made it a bit more jazzy. So this reduces complexity and saves you time. And ongoing development with earlier access to new features and enhancements. And best of all, it's all built around the way our customers actually work. We've worked closely with our clients across each of our core sectors and used their feedback to design Centtrip Global around real processes. So rather than talk about this at a high level, we want to show you what this looks like in practice. So I'm now going to hand over to Chris, our head of UX, who will walk you through Centtrip Global and all the features. Oh, hello, Chris. And all the features that are available on our new platform. And we will have a Q&A session at the end as well. So please feel free to post any questions that you have in the Q&A panel or in the chat throughout the session. Okay, over to you, Chris.
Yeah, lovely. Thanks so much there. All right, well, lovely to see so many of you here today. My name is Chris Dickin. I'm head of user experience here at Centtrip, and today we're going to be stepping you through, as Thea said, some of the features in Global which are exclusive to the platform, which you won't have seen if you're familiar with our UK platform. And so let's take a look. So we're going to break today down into about 4 sessions. We're going to start looking at features around cards, and particularly looking at virtual cards. We're going to be focusing on creating virtual cards, how you can then access them via the app, how you can set spend limits on them, and also add them to digital wallets. We're then going to take a look at user access, because there's some really sort of powerful and flexible functionality for user access. It's very granular, but it also means you can add users to the platform very, very quickly, especially if you're adding them to multiple companies. We're going to take a look at payments and the payments functionality, about how you can manage your sort of account transactions in the same way as you can manage your card expenses, and looking at some of the features around what we call projects, which are how you can sort of manage a subset of transactions within an account, and the most commonly that's used for charters. So we'll take a look at that functionality, and then we're going to finish today looking at a little preview of what's coming next in the platform. So I'm going to, because Global is a star, I'm going to turn myself off. Then we can just look at this, and let's crack on. We're going to kick off, as I say, we're going to be looking at card functionality. So one of the big differences with Global is this support for virtual cards. So they're just, if you haven't come across them or used them much before, they're digital cards that exist in the digital space. You can use them for e-commerce. You can use them if you add them to your phone. You can use them point of sale. One of the best things about them is when you order them, they're available immediately. So you're not waiting sort of a few days for a card to arrive. And all the details, even though you haven't got a physical card, via the app, you've got access to all the information about that virtual card. Also, cards, both virtual and physical, within Global, you've got the ability to manage the limits on that card, manage spending per day, per month, and maximum limits on transactions, including how much they can withdraw from, cardholders can withdraw from ATMs. We've just launched our new cardholder app for Global. So it's a new look and feel, just makes it a little more sort of interesting and appealing and easier to access transactions and card details to help cardholders kind of use and supply their expenses via the app. And the great thing about our virtual cards and our physical cards is you can add them to Apple Pay and Google Pay and add them to your virtual wallet and use those for making very convenient purchases via your phone. So I think that's enough PowerPoint. Let's actually go in and take a little look. And let's have a look at a classic use case. Let's say we've got a guy who has gone to Costco to get all the supplies needed, but he's managed to leave his Centtrip card at home. So he could, you know, do it on his personal card, but that's a nightmare to reconcile. So let's do him a quick virtual card so we can just get that spending done without any sort of messing around. So this is the physical card, which the person has managed to leave back at base, so that's no use. What we're going to do is we're going to order a new card for Mr. Edgar example, classic name, and it's going to be a virtual card. Now, card importing is done via spreadsheet import. And what we'll do is, this is a spreadsheet that's ready to go. We're going to be giving the card to an existing user. So this is his email address. And so it should just pop into his app as soon as he signs into the app. What we'll do, though, is we'll just put a different name on that card. Let's say Captain Edgar. And that way we'll know this is the virtual card. We'll know it looks different from his existing physical card. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead. We're going to import that. Down here, we're going to say, yep, we want a virtual card. It's in euros. Just going to confirm our the account that the card's going to belong to. That's great. We can then import the file we just looked at, which is our desktop. There it is. And complete that. And the lovely thing about virtual cards is there's no setting a delivery address. You just order them and boom, they're created, they're live and active straight away. So I can go back to my card management tab and there it is. There's our Captain Edgar card. I can see it's ready to go, it's active. But before I keep spending it, obviously we need to top it up. So we can just use this convenient little sidebar here and we can just go ahead and top up the card from our account. So let's just put 1,000 on there. That's very easy. And then because, because this is a card, we're just sort of, doing a quick virtual card. Maybe we don't want him to go too crazy on the spending on this card. So what we can actually do is we can say, you know what, let's take the maximum daily spend on that card down to say 5,000, maybe limit the maximum transaction amount to 1,000. And that's the spend limit functionality I was talking about. So you've got that ability there. I've just seen I'm still on screen. There we are. Take that off. Thought I was off screen. There we are. Technology. I can design UX. I can't use Teams. Right. That is our virtual card ready to go. Great news. Let's go ahead and look at that in the app. So, without further ado, I need to switch over. I've got a little app mirror here. I'm just going to connect to my app. Oh, there we are. Let's try again. There it is. So I just sign into Centtrip. So now I'm the card holder. I'm signing into Centtrip. I have a little think. There it is. And so there I am. That's my physical card, which I've lost. That's no use to me. But what I'll do is, if I'm on the phone to my guy, I'll be like, look, just click on all cards. And there you go. There's the virtual card we just created. Captain Edgar. It's got 1,000 on it. I just select that. And that card is now ready to go. And what I need to do then is I need to pop that into my digital wallet so I can use it on a POS. In order to do that, I need to get the card number, which I can do just by clicking Show Card in Full. And it has a little think, and there we are. So I can copy that to the clipboard, and I can paste that into Apple Pay. And just to say, those limits we talked about, you can see here the daily spend is there, and I can view those limits, and I can see all the limits on that card as well. So those are all there as well. So as a card holder, I've got full visibility about what I can do with that card. In terms of Apple Pay, now this is a demo card, so I can't, how do I, there we are. What I can't do is I can't add this card to Apple Pay because it's a test card. But if I wanted to do it, what I would do is I'd just click, click plus, and I would just add a debit or credit card, and you just paste the number in. But let's have a look. This is actually a Centtrip card. This is a live production card. You can see I've got a couple of transactions on there, a couple of lunches, lovely, lovely. And that card I can use if I need to ever make a transaction for my Centtrip account. So that's what they look like within the Apple Wallet. Obviously, it works with Google Pay as well. So that is cards. I hope that was a useful little overview of virtual cards and some of the flexible features. What we'll take a look at quickly now is user access. Account management and the structure of your account in Global is just a lot easier to navigate, because within Centtrip it's possible to have your company as a corporate, and then you can have multiple operating accounts. And then sometimes navigating between those used to be a bit confusing. So we've actually made that very simple. So it's very easy to, manage your operating accounts. And especially what it's easy to do is control exactly who can access each operating account and what they can do. And user access is controlled by assigning what's called a role to your users. And a role is a group of permissions. So you might create a role called captain. You might create a role called team leader. You might create a role called accountant or person. You can create roles for lots of different types of user, and then in each role you can set the spend limits, you can set exactly what they can do, and then you can choose exactly what accounts they can access. So let's take a look at that now. In order to manage your users and roles, we go down to the users area. And what we're going to be looking at here is this guy here called Terry Trainer. As you can see, I don't have very original naming conventions for my example characters. But here we go. This Terry, what we want to do is we just want to give him access to this specific account, training account, and we want to limit how much he can spend when he makes payments from this account. So that's what we're going to do with Terry. At the moment, he is just what's called a corporate administrator. That's his role. A corporate administrator is just the standard default kind of system role which you can have in Centtrip. If I go to roles, I can see all these different sort of standard roles I've got to select from, but actually I need to control exactly how he can spend, and I need to control exactly what accounts he can access. So in order to do that, what I could do is I could edit this system role, and I could customize exactly what the spend limits are for administrators, but actually that would affect everyone, and I just want to create a role for this particular person. So what I'm going to do is actually click duplicate, and that's how you create a new role. I'm going to call this junior payer, and that just reminds me what this role is for. Number of approvals required for payments. I could do 2, but I think I'll leave it as 1 just because otherwise we'll be here all day approving payments. But what I want to do is just take down his maximum amount he can spend, take that down to 5,000. Because it's possible to make payments with FX, and that's actually what we're going to do in the moment, show you how you can do a payment and change currency at the same time. We need to just edit that there. And then we can take a look at some of these other settings we've got. Do we want him to be able to create beneficiaries, recipients? No, we don't. We can take that off. Do we want him to be able to approve payments? Certainly not. Do we want him to be able to convert currency? Yes. But do we want him to manage cards? No. So actually, we're going to turn off that. And that way, we've created a role which is really suitable for just junior people in the company who are just paying invoices. And now all we need to do is assign that role. So we go to Terry, get rid of that, we edit him. We get rid of his current sort of default role assignment. And then we give him a new role assignment. So we're going to add him to this company, Centtrip Training. And actually, before we do that, let's just show you, I haven't talked about this yet. This is the navigation tool in Centtrip, which allows you to, if you're managing multiple companies and multiple operating accounts, it will allow you to select between them. So here, the company we're using today is called Centtrip Training, but I've got access to a few others. And Centtrip Training's got 4 operating accounts, but the only operating account I'm going to want Terry to have access to is this one we're working in at the moment, training account. Now because I'm a super administrator, I can flick between all these different operating accounts. But actually, I don't want Terry to be able to do that. So I'm going to assign him a role. I'm going to say, you're just working in this company, this corporate. We're going to have this role. And the only operating account I want you to have access to is that one. So you can actually do that kind of specific customization. Now, if I was adding an accountant, what I might do is say, you know what, I actually want you to have access to all my companies, but I want you to just have read-only access. And you can do that. But we are just going to give him access to one company. We're just going to give him this payer thing. We're just going to give him access to this operating account called training account. And that looks good to me. So that is Terry set up and ready to go. And the way you can then test what that's done is log out and log in. So as a reminder, as a super administrator, I've got access to all these different companies and all these different operating accounts. But if I log out and log in as Terry, so it's training example, I just need to get a security code, which is on my other screen. There we are. And I've got the, I'm logged in now as Terry, but notice in the navigation, I've only got access to that specific account now. So that's how you control exactly who can do what where. So let's make a payment. I'm going to go here. I'm going to create a batch payment. And I'm going to call it, let's call it supplier payment original. We confirm that we want it as soon as possible. We confirm the account we're paying from. And then what we're going to be doing a payment with FX, and that means that we're going to be changing currency at the same time as we make the payment. And the file we're going to import, I've got that here. This is what we're paying this particular beneficiary. This beneficiary already exists in the platform. I've created him as a recipient. We're selling euros. We're sending or buying USD. The direction is buy. And what that means is basically this number, the amount we're paying, corresponds to the buy currency. So what it means is we're selling however many euros are required for us to buy or send $1,000, and then we just have the reference for the payment and so on. So that is great because what that means is we can change the money and send it all in one operation. So great. Even if you don't have any dollars currently, in your wallet, you can still send a payment in dollars because you're doing this FX. So let's import that file. Click next. Okay, and this is telling us that the $1,000 equates to 854 euros and 18 cents, and is confirming how much we got left in our euro wallet. That all looks good. Here's the details of who we're paying. I'm happy with that. I'm going to go ahead and submit that payment. Let's send a code to my email. Again, I'm just going to go on my other screen here and get another verification code. Here we are. Payments have been submitted successfully. That is great. And now me as a super administrator, I'll have been sent an email to say, oh, there's a payment ready for you to approve. As you know, there it is, ready to go. Before we go ahead and approve that payment, though, let's talk about payments in the platform and some of the features around payments, which are unique to Global. So, with Global, you can manage your account transactions in exactly the same way as you might manage a card transaction. So what that means is, just as a card transaction comes in and you can give it a label, give it a note, assign it to a particular category, you can do that with your payments and expenses, your payments from the platform as well. And you've got the ability with Global, if you send payments via Swift, you can generate the MT103 record for that. But any payment from the platform, you've got the ability to generate a lovely receipt, which you can use if you want to have a sort of piece of paper associated with every sort of transaction from the account. We're also going to take a look today at projects, because what we're going to be doing is showing you how you can categorize your expenses, in our case our account transactions, as being part of a particular project. Now that project could be a film shoot on a particular location. More often than not, though, most of our customers in the marine sector use them for charters, because you can set a start date, an end date, you can set an initial budget for that. You can then record all the expenses that belong to that charter as being part of that, and then you can generate statements just for that charter. And so we're going to show you that as well and show you how all that works. That's a fantastically useful feature. So without further ado, first thing we need to do is we need to log back in as super administrator. Because I need to approve that payment. So I need that approval capabilities. Right, let's go to the right company. Let's go to payments. Although actually, while I'm here, let me show you a cool trick you could do with Global, which is another unique feature. Let's say if you're managing several companies and you've got payments to approve across loads of different companies, how do you, rather than switching from company to company, how do you do that? Well, this is quite clever. What you do is you say select multiple. So I actually am interested in seeing data from all my companies, and I want to see data from all my operating accounts from all my companies. That then gives me a much, much longer list of payments. But if I just want to see the ones that are awaiting approval, I can click that filter, and that immediately means if what you're doing today is just working through all the payments that need approval, you've got those ready to go there. So I can click on that, I can view the details. There's all the details of that payment. There's all the fees, the rate. You can double check the account details. If everything looks good, then you can go ahead and you can approve that. And there we are. So that now gets submitted for processing. Wonderful news. So what we now need to do is we need to check out the MT103, because we are sending in dollars, so we'll have got an MT103, and also the payment receipt. So to do that, we go to expenses, and here we go. You see you've got two tabs in expenses. You've got card transactions, which are all the expenses from your cards, and then you've got account transactions, which is all the latest purchases and payments. So what I'm just going to do is refresh that, because it takes a few seconds for a payment with FX to appear. It's got to sort of bounce back from our treasury department. Okay, while we're waiting for that, what we'll do is we'll show you the MT103. I've got one ready to show you here. It's actually on this transaction. And what an MT103 is, for those who don't know, with Swift payments, you get this electronic record, which is kind of which is accepted as a proof of purchase, proof of payment in a lot of institutions. So you've got that, you can, copy that to the clipboard, pop that on an email or whatever you need to do to confirm that the payment's been sent. You've also got, for your accounting purposes, the ability to generate a payment receipt. I can pop that open in the browser, and that is your electronic confirmation PDF that the transaction's been made. So you can use that if you are working with accountants that like to have a bit of paper for every transaction leaving your account, and who doesn't? And then we should have, there it is. Then we've also got our nice, this is our FX payment. We've actually, an FX payment is going to be 3 records, which might sound a bit confusing. What it is, you get one thing for basically the money leaving your euro account. Then you got one for then the converted money entering your, in this case, dollar account. And then you've got another row here for the money leaving your dollar account and being sent. And that's the one which would have the MT103. Good. So that is account transactions, how you can manage those. Let's take a look at labeling. And specifically, I want to show you project labeling and show you how you can categorize labels as being part of a project, expenses as being part of a project. So as I say, what a project is, it's a way of essentially categorizing a set of transactions as belonging to a particular subset. Let's call this like the Jones Charter, February 2026. And then you can generate statements. Let's say the charter lasts from the beginning of February to the end of February. It's in euros. This is quite clever. You can actually assign cards to the charter. And what that means is any transaction from those cards made in the time while the charter project is live will be automatically tagged as being part of that. I can't show you that today, so I can't really do card transactions in a demo. But what it means is that you can very sort of reliably and automatically start building up all the transactions that need to be part of that. So there we go. We've got our project created. And what I can now do, going back to expenses, is I can tag the various expenses as being part of that. So there you go. I'm going to tag this this euro payment, and I'm going to tag that as being part of our Jones Charter. That's perfect. And what I'm also going to do is, any project starts with often like a fund load, which is like the initial budget. I've got one here, in marine terms, you would call this an advanced provisioning allowance. So there we are. I hope that's right. I might get told off by Thea if I've got that wrong. Okay, so we've now tagged a couple of expenses as being part of this project. What I can now do is go to my project statements, go to my Jones Charter, and you can see here I've got my start balance, and then I've got the money out for the payment so far, and then I've got my end balance, and you can see here how it's possible to keep assigning transactions, and you end up with a statement which you can print out as a PDF or an Excel, which is just for that particular project, or indeed just for that charter. So it's a really useful feature for Global for managing that kind of thing. So it's worth having a little play with that. Good. All right. Well, we're almost done actually in my demo, but I didn't want to leave you today without showing you a little glimpse into the crystal ball of what is coming over the next few weeks and months. One of the features is about recipient creation. Creating a beneficiary in any kind of fintech platform is often a bit of a faff because you've got an awful lot of data to enter, and then it's possible for someone to mistype an account number and suddenly payments don't work for that customer. So what we've done is we've completely overhauled the way recipients are done. We've added essentially online checking of data, and we're only asking you to enter the minimum required. I'm going to show you how that looks in a little prototype, so it reduces errors. And we've also got a great new dashboard, which we're really excited about, to help you kind of see at a glance everything that's happening on your account, and also carry out some sort of new day-to-day management of the site. So let's take a little look at those. So first of all, let's take a look at recipients. So I've got this is a prototype in Figma, so it's a little bit of, but it'll show you what the experience will be. So if you want to create a recipient, you click Create Recipient, you say if it's a company or an individual, you enter a bit of basic information, a name, give it a nickname, just like a quick reference. You do need to add an address, but if it's UK, we're going to be using lookups in a fairly standard way to try and streamline that. And then this is the clever bit. You just enter the country of your the bank and the currency, and then Centtrip will automatically ask you for the correct fields. And it's like the minimum needed to be able to identify that you've got the right beneficiary. So let's click on that. We can then enter that, check details. It does a little check online, and then it'll bring up all those details like the name of the bank, the address of the bank, which is all needed, as well as it'll check that the data you've entered is correct, and it'll also, if there's say an IBAN or a SWIFT, it'll give you those details as well. And then that's it. The recipient's created, and you can go ahead and make payments for it. So we try to make that as streamlined as possible. So expect to see that over the next, should be a couple of months, maybe less. They're building it at the moment. And this is the one I'm particularly excited about because it's new dashboards. Because one of my jobs is to kind of sit down with people and see how they use the platform. And what I found is actually most people, what you end up doing most days is just checking, like, approving payments, checking balances, topping up cards, just checking everything's looking okay. So we just try to make that just daily check much, much easier. So here you've got a little summary of all the key things happening in your account. This is the new dashboard. I've got my balances. I've got any payments that need approval are right there, and you can actually check the details, and you can actually go ahead and approve them there and then without having to go off to a different part of the platform. You can still do all the same functionalities there, but you can do that, and you can see the balance of all your cards, if any cards like locked or inactive or expiring, and then you can go ahead and also see all the transactions as they come in. So it's a quick way of doing kind of expense management, and we've got a similar thing for account management as well, for account transactions. You can go ahead and see the receipts and check all the categories are correct. If you want to go from card to card, it's nice and easy. And indeed, if you're looking after multiple operating accounts, you can go from operating account to operating account. Nice and straightforward, just trying to reduce clicks, see at a glance. And then if you're managing several businesses, you can also just see at a glance, like across all your different operating accounts, what the balances in those are looking like. So that's coming. That's going to be a little bit further away, but we're expecting it sort of first half of the year, sort of late spring. So look forward to that. That's going to be a lot of fun.